Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media.
For joining us this morning. How is everything? Because I haven't seen you in a very long time. How is everything?
Well, we've been working underground,
yeah.
but so far so good.
Yeah. Last time we spoke, you and I spoke. You had come to talk about your book.
Yes.
And you had also spoken about the fact that you had aspirations, for the presidency.
Yes.
That's obviously all changed now. Do you want to explain to us what led to this slight change of role?
Yeah, it's important for Zambians to understand that sometimes when you change a position, it is not because you don't want to do what you intended to do, but because circumstances have arisen. I think Zambians will note that I have always maintained that I did not want to challenge Edgar Lungu. I wanted Edgar Lungu in the Patriotic Front to step aside, because I believed then, and I still believe now, that he is running for a third term. And that I will not support. From a legal perspective, as a lawyer, I will not condone that, endorse it. So I have moved from that position. When I realized that the PF was adamant about going against the Constitution, when I realized that the PF was adamant and they would even go and, incite violence against me, I had to engage an old friend. An old friend in this case is Davi-tech-media. Now, people may not know this, but this villager friend of mine and I met when he came to university, and we entered university same day. We graduated same date. The 17th graduation of the University of Zambia was our graduation. We played in the same circles. We had similar friends, close friends. We had a neat of friends, but he did a different course from the one that I did. So for people to think that Davi-tech-media is a stranger to me, I want that away. The only thing that happened is we were not meeting very much because we were in different political parties. And the kind of party PF is, the moment you talk to a friend, they become suspicious. But when I realized that these guys were not willing to give up their third term bid, I had to emphasize to my friend, we need to bring the nation together. And we decided to meet several times, not just once. We met on several occasions, trying to iron out how this unity of purpose was going to come about. And eventually we agreed and said, this is how we're going to run. I think if you watched the launch, when the Zambia We Want Alliance was merging with the UPND Alliance together, we had agreed on modalities, and we agreed that we will use UPND Alliance as the vehicle through which we shall run. So part of the discussions also had to do with our economic policies, the manifesto for the UPND, and of course the Zambia We Want policies. Some of the party members like Z, MDC, Zambia Must Prosper movement in there, our manifestos were very similar. And we found similarities in the UPND manifesto. So it was easy to bring those ideas together. But more importantly also, and I'm still talking about my friend Davi-tech-media, there has been a lot of misrepresentation, especially about people that have purported to work with HH before. They've spoken against him in terms of he's like this, he's like that. I don't find those difficulties working with him myself. Why? Because we both have similarities which we want to push for the Zambian people. For example, we're more or less the same age. We graduated same date. We have the same thinking. We are disciplinarians. and we're disciplined towards work. So if you go to Aka in there and begin to tell him, or it seems as if you just want his money, obviously he won't give you his money. He's a disciplined guy. He's made himself. He's a self-made man. And self-made men don't throw away money. They want the reason why they're giving you the money. So some people went there to try maybe to nick his money. He saw through them and he discarded them. You can ask him for me. We've never discussed money between me and him because we are both self-made men. I'm independent financially. He's independent financially, and we work in that regard. We work together. I can tell you that in the PF has never given me money. When I was in PF, they never even gave me a contract. I never took a government contract. Why? I didn't want all these things like in Chekereko kind of business. No, no, no. You just believe in the system. When we were working with the old man Sata, we knew what we wanted to do. But when Valungu came in, we started having problems there. So that unity of purpose which we founded and discussed with my friend is what we want to bring. Bringing the northeast and the southern west part of Zambia together as our forefathers did. Many Zambians may not know this. I told this story when I was giving a tribute to the late KK. When John Roberts and his federal party wanted to bribe Nkumbula, Harry Mwanga Nkumbula, they went there with a basket of money. Old Harry took the money. He ate the money. But when VJ Mwanga, Mungoni Liso, Daniel Munkombwe and the others visited him, they told him, Amdara, this is about patriotism. This is about nationalism, about bringing this nation called Zambia to birth. Harry ate the Muzungu money, but he sided with KK. So Don Chikubeva didn't start with Wasaga. No, it started with Harry. He took the Muzungu money, but he didn't side with the Muzungus. He sided with KK. That is how this nation was born. In the same breath, we're asking the Zambians today. PF today has got money. They have regalia. They have material. They have logistics. They have more cars than we have in the alliance. Take their money. Take their chitenge. Eat. After all, it is your money. It is stolen money. But in your hearts, as Zambians, and I'm trusting the Zambians here, in your hearts, you should know what to do. Don't Chikuveva, reloaded. Just go to that polling booth and exercise your right to vote without fear or favor. And you have suffered enough, Zambians. We are bringing this nation together under one purpose, to unite the nation, to take away this element of tribal talk, this element of polarization politically. It is not necessary. I mean, when I was in PF, we used to, portray the impression that we are very united. Let me tell you, there's not so much unity in PF. It's about bootlicking. And that's why some of us couldn't fit in. Because for me, if you want to buy my mind, I would rather say no. I would rather say no. I would rather be a free thinker than sell my thinking ability to a person. But most of the people that decided to work with ECL, President Lungu, they're bootlickers. They couldn't think beyond what ECL told them to do. So this is why you found it very difficult to find people like me to go and sit in cabinet. Why? Because we were supposed to be following dogmatically without thinking. But I can assure you that what has happened with my friend HH is that we've been able to interact at an intellectual level, at a social level, at an economic level, at a political level, and we have agreed this unity of purpose, Mwana, is important for the nation, and this is what we want to do. So we have brought the northeast and the southwest together now. What excuse are PF going to give that my friend practices tribalism? Where? There are people in in PF today, Luchi, for instance, who think they are the only Bembas. Huh? They talk like they represent the whole Bemba land. Like they own all the Bembas. They don't. Some of us are more Bemba than some of these people. We are more Bemba than some of these people. But we don't want to talk tribes. We want to talk ability. Luchi, if you have ability, I'll look at the content of your mind, not your tribe. Anybody who comes to preach tribalism on radio, on a political platform, or at a rally, just know, takwete message. He wants to bring divisions within and amongst the Zambians. You must get rid of such a politician. Because takwete a man. How many Zambian men today, Luchi, are married to Tonga women? So they are only tribalists at a political rally. In the night, when they are in bed, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody, but there's no tribalism there. Yeah. Let's be serious. Huh? We must be real. What will we say to the children who are born from a Bemba man and a Tonga woman? An Easterner and a Tonga woman. What tribe are those children? And when you keep saying, hey, this tribe, I mean, ECL is on record, the president of PF, saying that my friend HH can never be president of this country. Who is he? Is he God? He cannot dictate what the Zambians want. And what I'm saying now is, having brought the nation together under one umbrella of unity, we are saying the time has come for HH to be president. And some of us have said, let's push back our ambitions for now. Let my friend take this mantle. That is why the UPND Alliance has put HH as the candidate, the presidential candidate that we want for this alliance, and say, Mwana, take this mantle for now and move to prove one thing, that a Tonga can be president in this country. One. Two, it is not just about because he's a Tonga, but he has the ability, and he has shown that ability. He's a self-made billionaire. I mean, what more do you want? When ECL was going to government, he was not a billionaire. No. But he is today. So, who do you trust? A guy who's already got money, or a guy who's going to make money? I'd rather go with the guy who has already got money, and I know he's going to have his money aside, and the government coffers he'll look after. So this unity was born out of that. The other thing I want to say about HH, which is important, and I'm trying to talk about the candidature of HH, because he's been verified by a lot of vuvuzelas in the Patriotic Front. HH has never been a councillor. I have never been a councillor. HH has never been an MP. I have never been an MP. HH has never been a minister. I have never been a minister. But the goodness about it is, that means we have not dipped our fingers into the government coffers. No one can say KBF has stolen money from government. No one. No one can say HH has stolen money from government. No one. We have made our own money from our own businesses. He's been running his businesses. I've been running my practice. And for me, those are the people you want to see and say, these are self-made men. They've already got things for themselves. They are not coming here to steal. They are not coming here to abuse us and abuse our taxes. No, they are principled, disciplined men. And these are things that people don't want to talk about, but it's important, Luchi, during a campaign, to understand the candidature of who you're putting forward there. Some people will be saying, no, but you may not have experience. Bwana, sometimes a new broom sweeps better than an old one. When you're talking about experience, what experience? Experience in stealing, experience in corruption, experience in failing to create jobs, experience in the cost of living going up. Zambians, wake up. We don't need that kind of experience. It is time for change. And the wind of change is blowing. My brothers have been saying, there's no wind of change, there's no wind of change. One of my brothers was on TV the other day and he was asked, So why should the Zambians vote for ECL again? Answer, humility. Let me laugh. Humility. Today, Luchi, humility doesn't create jobs. No. Humility does not stop corruption. No. Humility does not stop abuse of authority. Humility does not stop stealing. No, Luchi. We are beyond humility now. What the Zambians are looking for are answers, not humility. And I can tell you for one thing, part of this humility is a phase of acting. Because some of us who've seen and been with ECL is not exactly humble. No. He's not humble. That I can tell you. No, he gives the impression he's humble. He's not humble. I'm not going to vote for somebody simply because he's humble. No. I want to vote for somebody because he has the ability to change this nation. He has the ability to create jobs. He has the ability to change the way Zambia is looked at. Look at what's happening in South Africa just now. People are trying to pretend, no, free Zuma. It's broken out into lawlessness. That's what you do when you pretend that you're going to have one little glitch and ignore it. We should not ignore the rule of law. It's very important.
I wonder whether, when you talk about ability,
yes,
I wonder whether ability is all people look for. I mean, they look for the house. Ability doesn't particularly answer the house. So when you say, people are looking for ability, well, what is the house on? For example, how do you reduce the cost of living? How do you create jobs for young people?
I see.
Yes, that is the how that people look for. Those are the answers that people look for.
Thank you very much. I think when I was trying to discuss my ideas in Zambia Must Prosper, the book, and part of what we have discussed with my friend over time, we have agreed that in trying to create employment, the first thing we must understand is you can never create employment without targeting production. So you look at the natural resources on the one side, and then you look at the human capital on the other side, and say, how do we marry these two? And we have already found a solution. We have discussed, for example, how we are going to sector the country into various zones and look at the resources in Luapula and put up industries in Luapula based on the resources. For instance, there's too much water, so we know we can do a lot of fishing. Not these ponds that people are talking about here. We're talking about commercial farming of fish. There, it rains 7 to 8 months in the year. So we know that the grass there is nice. We can also be talking about rice growing, paddy fields. There's already Nakonde rice, Chinsali rice, right through to Chambeshi rice. We know there are areas like that which we can concentrate on. When we go the eastern side, we know we're talking crops like groundnuts. We're talking tobacco. We know we're talking cotton. So in those areas, we know these areas are going to be, because agriculture must be one of our fundamental cornerstones. We should be able to feed ourselves with the weather we have, with the natural resources in terms of our people, and we can build on that. When we talk industrialization, it is not just about growing the crops. It is value addition. Now, if in the southern province, they are able to look after cows, and we're able to say, okay, this is your area. But in the Dundumwezi, Kalomo area, I know that those little areas there, they produce more maize than the whole of Luapula and half of the northern province. So we concentrate on the commercial farming of maize in certain areas. Maybe we move right through to Chisamba and Mukushi. We concentrate on maize here because we understand that these are the commercial areas for farming. Now, we just don't concentrate on maize as well. We look at wheat. Instead of prescribing solutions such as Kandoro to people, you should be thinking of growing wheat maybe 2 times in a year. Because it's important how people relate to the foodstuffs on the table. Remember when Mwanawasa was president, we used to have winter maize. So we can grow maize twice in this country, depending on how you grow it. What makes us think with the weather patterns we have, we can't grow wheat twice in this country at commercial levels? So the how, Luchi, is part of this solution. The solutions are here. And I'm glad that in discussing with my friend, we have been able to share ideas. When I looked at part of his solutions, it married with the ideas that I have. Now, if anybody allows you to be a free thinker, and you can share ideas such as Zambia must prosper ideas, and the ideas for Z, the ideas for MDC, how are you not going to fit into that?
Even though one of the accusations from the other guys is that these ideas are copied from Jamaica. And I heard someone say this.
Jamaica? How small is Jamaica?
He gave Jamaica as an example. But can you assure people that there is less copying, and these are really just ideas, and even if there is copying, that these are ideas that can actually work?
Luchi, since I produced Zambia Must Prosper 1 and Zambia Must Prosper 2, and since the manifestos of the UPND came out, the Z and MDC and the other parties within the alliance, nobody has criticized this from the PF. Nobody. They've never attacked this. This was done out of research, out of thinking, because I understood where we were coming from with Old Man Saka. So we knew that by this time we should be pushing the agenda of industrialization, we should be pushing the agenda of creation of jobs, we should be pushing the agenda of improving Zambian lives. Is that where we are today? No. Why? Because of corruption, because of bad procurement, because of lack of leadership that is disciplined to push an agenda of economic growth. And this is the problem we have today. The PF has failed lamentably, and people cannot say I'm saying this today. I've been on this program, Luchi. I've been on other fora. I've been very consistent. I was saying this and the failure of leadership even when I was in PF. I've been very consistent. So people cannot say, no, but he's only talking now. Talking now where? I said it when I was in PF. And I said it. We cannot continue with the leadership of Lungu in office. Why? We are not going to go anywhere. Economically, there are no ideas there. Today, when you look at the billboards, some of the billboards, the PF billboards, no, now we are going to change and we will not leave anybody behind. Who stopped you? Why did you leave the Zambians behind all this time? Who stopped you? You've been in power for 10 years. Why? Now they're thinking. Because they've read this. I've given this to Lungu. I've given this to some of the ministers in PF. They are the ones who are copying my ideas. If I've copied or plagiarized anything here, Luchi, let them say from where. Because I've got my research notes. I know what we did. I know who my research assistants were in this book. So I know they cannot ever come here and say there's copying here. There's no copying. Maybe the people who talk of growing marijuana, maybe they can copy. Me, I've never discussed marijuana in here. Maybe that's copying from Jamaica, because you know our Jamaican friends and the Bob Marley and the Dogo situation. Yeah, but that's not me. Me, I'm talking about the creation of jobs, proper jobs. I've talked about employment which we can create. I know for a fact we have 82% of this country as youths. Now, if we're pouring onto our streets 375,000 so-called graduates at grade 7, grade 9, grade 12, diplomas and university per year, and we have no jobs to give these youths, what do you think they'll be doing? If it's for the girls, you're going to force them into early marriages. Some of them will turn into prostitution, because at the end of the day, there's nothing to do. The young men, they are going to turn into political cadres. And in the process, they are going to be pushing to be people perpetuating violence, because that's the only way they can be paid by these so-called politicians, so that they can go and hack people and injure people. Now, Luchi, maybe Zambians have forgotten. I need to remind them. Have you forgotten that there was a lot of ritual killings in this country under PF? Have you forgotten that there was gassing in this country under PF? Have we forgotten that there's been violence under PF at every by-election at ward level and at parliamentary level? During the tenure of PF, at least 1 or 2 people will die. Have we forgotten that? The question we should be saying is, who has been arrested and prosecuted? Nobody. Are you honestly telling me we don't have a police force in this country? We do. Why are the police not doing their job? Because the violence is institutional. The violence is being perpetuated by the people in office. They're the ones who are pushing for this violence because it suits them. Today, there is a discussion going on that they are going to sign some peace alliance, non-violence peace alliance and things like that. On the part of the alliance, I can tell you, we have been clear from the beginning. There is no violence in our campaigns. And I think anybody who knows me will tell you, I'm not a violent person. And part of the reason why I'm finding it very easy to work with my friend HH is because he's not a violent guy. 3/4 of the time, he would rather tell you, this is wrong, let's talk about it. But the other side, no. No. When my young brother Stephen Kampiongo was Home Affairs Minister, how many people were killed? How many people were prosecuted? How many people were arrested? We must be real. Huh? Was Kampiongo ever fired? No. You know why? Because it suited the agenda. It suited the agenda of the paying master. Now, if you don't have anybody being fired, what example are you setting? What are you saying to the people? That violence is okay. We've got ministers on record who come here and other stations and they say, me am #1 bootlicker. Former ministers. Their job, violence. When you talk about thinking, there's nothing about thinking. No. Because that's the kind of people they are. Now, you expected me to just continue being associated with such kind of people? No, Luch. No. There comes a time when a man has to weigh what is good for the nation. And what is good for the nation right now is this alliance. Zambians, this alliance means well. Zambians, in the alliance, we've got a multi-sector of people with different abilities. And we are going to give you the leadership that you deserve.
I want to take you back a little.
Yes.
One of the things you said was the number of young people who are graduating,
yes,
who are being pushed into what is supposedly supposed to be a job market.
Mm-hmm.
Those jobs are not available.
No.
There are a number of young people who are on the voters' roll.
Correct.
Who are looking for answers from politicians.
Correct.
Like yourselves, on where those jobs are going to come from.
Right.
Do you want to talk a little about where those jobs will come from under an alliance led by, yourselves?
Yeah. I did touch on this slightly.
Yeah.
I said we're going to zone the country into segments.
Yeah.
We are going to be calling these production cities. So these are basically new cities. These cities are going to begin from the ground up. So the first thing is we identify what industry can we begin in this area. For example, if we're going to grow sugarcane, or we're going to grow cotton, or we're going to grow tobacco, around that industry, around that agricultural industry, the primary industry, we should build a factory for value addition. The moment a factory is built, obviously the next thing is we need residential homes for workers who are going to be working both in the factory and the farming sector. The moment we do that, we are already building a town. That town will need a hospital, it will need schools, then commerce and trade begins around those areas. This is how we're going to grow. And that's how these, young nurses, doctors...
There is a question though about where the money comes from. Because again, people will argue and they'll say, well, I mean, look, we're in heavy debts.
We have the money in this country.
Everyone says that.
No.
Everyone says there is money.
Yes,
and yet there is very little in our pockets.
Correct. Do you know what the problem has been with PF? 4 factors. 1, budgeting. Big problem. The priorities in the budget, in the PF, have always been wrong. Second, loan systems. PF keeps borrowing and over-borrowing and misusing the loans that they've borrowed. 3, the procurement system in the PF has always been exaggerated. And 4, the corruption levels have always been wrong in the PF. So let's go to the budget. If you go and budget properly and say agriculture will be our mainstay, give that industry The money that is required, you already have the money. It's in the budget, Luchi. Why are you going to be giving, for instance, defense so much money in this country when we've never been at war? You tell me, for what? Why do you give defense so much money? Why are you going to give Home Affairs, the police in particular, money to buy all these trucks they've been buying? For what, Luchi? To come and kill your own people? It doesn't make sense to me. So it's just the priorities, the shifting. You go back to the kitchen. The kitchen is the budget. Realign what you need to do. Emphasize on the areas where you need to emphasize. Agriculture is 1. 2, education. 3, health. Those, you put money in there. Why? Because these are basics that are going to give you the human capital. Because the kids will have to be healthy. They'll need hospitals. They'll need medicines. It's not just about building these white elephants called the clinics and the hospitals, or mini hospitals. There are no beds in there. There's no medicine in there. There are no doctors. There are no nurses. How many nurses today have graduated, have not been posted, Luchi? How many teachers today have graduated, have not been posted? How many doctors today have graduated, have not been posted? Thousands. Do you know why? The government has always got its priorities wrong. They would rather go and buy. You saw these trucks coming in just before the elections, Luchi, before the campaign. Trucks from the border. The police have been armed. Armed for what? For what? Why are you arming the police? We saw those blue trucks coming in. For what? Against your own people? Is that a caring government? I dare say no. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's prioritizing. When you prioritize, and you prioritize agriculture, you prioritize education, you prioritize health, your base in the budget has already shifted. Then you know, okay, now you're looking at production. Why? Because problem we have again with education, for instance, is the PF believes that education is a cost. There's a running mate in PF somewhere, huh? A running mate who removed subsidies for meal allowances for students somewhere. Huh? Buena, education is an investment. It is not a cost. And this also reminds me when we're talking about education. When you go to Luapula, the old man Sata said there should be the FTJ University in Luapula. Has it been done? When he went to Western Province, he said there'll be a Lewanika University there. Has it been done? This is because priorities were wrong. There was supposed to be also some stadia there for recreation. Have these things been done? No. Priorities in the budget, Luchi. I was there when we were planning these things with the old man. This is the problem we have. Implementation. You come and start new projects when all you are supposed to do is continuity. So what do you think the people in Luapula are thinking? The people in Western Province are thinking? What do you think they're thinking? Where is the university here, which Sata talked about, under PF? Not even some stone has started as a foundation. Same for FTJ University. Now, if we had universities, the FTJ in Luapula University, the Lewanika University in Western Province, 3/4 of the kids in these provinces would not be needing to travel to Lusaka. That is a cost-saving measure on the parents already, because the university is close by. This is what government should have done. Priorities, you shift from the budget, buena. But you go and buy these blue vehicles for police to intimidate your people, to threaten, and what are you trying to do? It doesn't make sense. Today, the cost of living is so high in Zambia because now the effects of these bad policies of the PF are being felt. I want to talk, for example, Luchi, to my friends, the taxi drivers, the minibus drivers. Okay, I know they are suffering. They are failing to pick people from point A to point B. Chawama to Lusaka, people are walking into town. Matero to town, people are walking. Charleston to town, people are walking. They cannot afford minibuses, Luchi. It's difficult. What's more, with the COVID situation, People would rather walk because they don't trust the minibuses. Now those minibuses have already been said, given targets by the owners of the buses. I need so much per week, or I need so much per month. Where is the money going to come from? Now, one of the answers I have talked about here when we talk of the transport sector is we must target, for instance, within the next 2-3 years, to have another 10,000 new taxi drivers, new minibus drivers, owning their own buses. How does that happen? Because the how is important to you, Rich.
Yeah, the how is important.
Do you know today that the minibus drivers and the taxi drivers are given some targets to pay to PF for them to operate certain routes and for them to operate at certain bus stops? Why are they paying that to PF? The cadres at the PF cadres are controlling the bus stops. They are controlling the markets. These women and men, young youths, are being forced to pay a party cadre so that they can go and line their minibus at a certain bus stop. That will stop in the alliance. What we'll do is we're going to create cooperatives for these people. Instead of paying PF that money, they'll be putting money in this basket. We're going to have these cooperatives and they'll begin to have policies which we shall work. We shall borrow from what FTJ did. We're going to say for 1 or 2 years, no paying of taxes when you import a new bus, so that we get rid of all these old buses. But what's more important there is they will use those cooperatives to bring in those buses for themselves, so that we have people owning the means of production instead of working for people. I know also for a fact, and I'm not trying to embarrass my police friends here and some civil servants, I know some of these minibuses are owned by police. They're owned by civil servants. They want that money in their pocket. So these minibuses go and speed and what? They cause accidents, they cause contraventions and all these other things, because at the end of the day, they want the cashing in for the boss. But when you own the means of production, you own the taxi, you own the bus, the minibus, you will not be speeding. Because once that bus, that taxi is involved in an accident, it is you who's not going to have an income. So we are targeting all these. And we know for a fact that with the figures we've done and the calculations we've made, we can improve the lives of even the taxi drivers and the minibus drivers, because we want them to own their own taxis and own their own minibuses so that they control the means of production. I'm sorry, Ruchi, because at the end of the day, when you don't think through these things, research takes time. And that's the biggest problem with I found in PF. Nobody wants to think. When you think, what are you for, Simon? No, it's not about you for. That is why some of us went to school. And I'm not going to apologize because I went to school. No. The reason I went to school is to come and improve my country. And this is what we're trying to do today.
There's a question from somebody
yes.
on our WhatsApp line about mining.
Mining?
Yes, and the mines and how best the Alliance thinks they can handle the mining sector.
All right, yeah. In the same breath as we zone the country, there are certain areas where there are minerals, others where there are no minerals. Of course, we are going to talk to investors to come in and start the mining ventures. But our investment policy will be very different from what you're seeing today. Let's talk about KCM. Chingola, they're telling you they've saved a lot of jobs, huh? There's a liquidator there who's purporting to run this mine. Do you know that the production at KCM in Chingola has gone down during this liquidator's stay at the mine? Why? You can't go and get a lawyer who doesn't know anything about mining to run mining. Mining is a specialized business one. You send him there on the basis that he's a liquidator, but what does he know about mining? What does he know about the machinery? What does he know about the lubricants that are required at the mine? Nothing. Those are problems. So we'll bring in experts. When Equinox was coming in for Kalumbila and the other things from Canada and Australia, and all these guys came in, they brought in, I think, $600 million to $700 million to begin those mines. Kalumbila began to work. Today, it's not worth that much. It's gone up. One of the reasons why we are not going into virgin mining today is we don't know how to raise the money. Part of the reason is we don't know how to float shares on the stock exchange. We can do that. There's money out there, Luchi. Investors are willing to put money here so long as this mine is going to be floated on the stock exchange. Then you get experts to run those mines. So long as you get your taxes from here as a Zambian, the problem is solved. People are saying, no, my friend HH wants to give back mines to the foreigners. But if the foreigners are going to give Zambians more money in the manner they run the mines, what is wrong with that? You'd rather have this liquidator at KCM running the mine, and the mine is going down and the jobs are going to be lost anyway. And then you say, no, this is good. Let's be serious. Mining is a very expensive venture. No Zambian in his right frame of mind can say he's got enough money to put in a mine alone. No, you need investment. Now, when those investors come, they come with conditions. The important thing is what I've said in my book, Luchi, and I'll repeat here. In business, you never get what you want. You get what you negotiate for. We shall go and negotiate what's good for the Zambians and what's good for the investors. This is one thing that the PF has failed to do. They have never had the capability to negotiate. Why? Because the cabinet that was running this country, forgive the expression, content. Mwenzeri the content. So how do you send people to go and negotiate for things that they don't understand? How? That is why this alliance with educated minds, good ideas, is going to sit and say, okay then, what do you want from our country? We shall listen. Take in. If it's not good, we'll say no. If it's good, at the negotiation table, you're beaten. Don't come back tomorrow. But we're promising the Zambians, at the negotiation table, we shall never be beaten. HH knows how to negotiate. I know how to negotiate. Other members of the alliance know how to negotiate. We shall negotiate for you. And the mining sector will be propped up. We are going to take back mining to the levels where it was before. And we're going to ensure that the mining sectors come in, and there shall also be the social corporate responsibility. There shall be, one, running football. They shall be running the social amenities. They shall be running all the social golfing, cricket, and the rugby's. Those of us who grew up on the Copper Belt, those days, the glory days will come back. Why? Because those were the good days. They shall improve, and they shall register schools and put up hospitals. That will be part of the negotiation that we'll put up on the table. You cannot bring in an investor and simply say, no, take over. What is he taking over? You can't. So it's about negotiations, Luchi. The mining sector will be taken care of, but we can't promise now and here that without understanding the mess that PF has created, we're going to have those solutions. We'll look at the problem when we get there. But part of the solutions, we already know.
We kind of already know how much debt we're in.
Yes, we do.
We don't have full figures, but we kind of have an idea.
Yeah, but the reason they don't tell us those figures, you and I know. Yes.
So, knowing what we know about debt and the amount of debt we have, has there been a conversation amongst the alliance on how you pay back that debt? Is it just about negotiating better than what people have been negotiating, or is there an actual plan to say this is how we dismantle this huge debt that they've left us with?
The first thing the Zambians have to take comfort in is the fact that when there is a change of government, this change of government which is coming, the donors will feel comfortable to negotiate. Now, my good friend HH was saying the other day that when he takes over government, within hours, the rate of the dollar will drop.
When you swear me in at 10, like 14 hours.
And somebody was laughing. Let me talk about the people that were laughing. Recently, the Euros were taking place, okay? Ronaldo refused to endorse Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola said their sales dropped by 4 billion. By just this guy, this icon, refusing to endorse Coca-Cola as part of his discussion on the table. Now, what more a president? It depends on the value the president brings to the table. And I'm saying to you, the value that my friend and the alliance are bringing to the table, the donors will look at that value. First of all, this is the value they looked at when Mwanawasa took over as government, as president. Is this guy serious? The donors are willing to negotiate. The donors are willing to look at the plight of the Zambians, but they want to know who's in charge. Who's in charge, especially in Africa, Luchi, I am sorry to say, is very important. The IMF has been negotiating with our government, the PF government, for years. Since when my sister Dudu Wanakatu was Minister of Finance, even after she was removed and another Minister of Finance went there, and another Minister of Finance went there, IMF has never given us money. Do you know why? It's about who is in charge. Because they don't trust what you're saying is what you're going to do. It's about the ability to convince the donors that we have the fiscal discipline to run these affairs of the nation. And we will not put this money in our pocket banner. That is important for the guy who's lending you money. So when they endorse, the Zambians endorse the alliance to be in government, and HH is sitting at the table with his team, I can assure you, the first thing is the donors will look and say, okay, we are prepared to reduce this by so much. That's what HH meant when he said the dollar can come down in hours. Because even that gives comfort to the people that are willing to give you money. You cannot go to a banker with empty pockets, with no collateral, nothing behind you, and then you say, no, I want to borrow. You're borrowing against what? Even in local business, against what? Against yourself. But you yourself is doubtful. No, but when you come with some value, it changes the dynamics. And this is what we're saying to the Zambians. The alliance has got enough human capital, politically and economically, to shift the balance. And we are going to improve. So yes, in terms of negotiating, first of all, we need to know the actual figure. How deep are we into debt? Second, how did we contract this debt? And third, are those guys willing to move some of their payment dates further so that we'll give them a plan? And part of this planning first has to do with how much is in the cake. The Zambians today are being taxed left, right, and center. Everybody's feeling the pinch. But do we know where this tax is going? We don't. So we have to give the donors and the Brentwood organizations that comfort that this is who we are. Openly, this is how much we owe. But part of this, are you willing to write off? And part of this, are you willing to shift the dates of payment? Then give us breathing space. That's what they did with Mwanawasa. We moved this country and took out that, what was that, EPIC or whatever, HIPIC or whatever we did, and we removed the debt. It is possible, but it's the discipline that is required. I can assure you, in PF, there is no financial discipline. That I can assure you. The corruption, you and I know, Luchi. The Zambians know. I don't have to sing about these things. They know. The Zambians know about the abuse of office, the abuse of authority, the bad procurement deals. I mean, you are talking about road infrastructure. The president went and cut ribbons for a road between the Copper Belt and Lusaka. The original figure given, 1 billion Katuishuku. 350 kilometers of a road. You want to tell us it's 1.8 billion Chakutuku? We said no as Zambians. And I'm glad at least on this point I salute Margaret Monakato. When she was finance minister, she said no, this is too much for a road. Whether it's dual carriage or not. The minister then was trying to say, no, there will be hotels on the road. There will be... Who wants hotels between here and the Copper Belt? To sleep for what? Why am I sleeping 300 kilometers? I can drive. I go to the Copper Belt and come back. I used to drive to go and see my parents. Go, come. What is the problem? You want to put up hotels? Don't justify nonsense, Buana. No. That became a discussion within PF. That is how that road has not even started. Because the price was wrong. We knew it was inflated. Now, I'm giving you just one example. Where you and I can say that if it went through, you know how much they were going to skim off the top. Who was going to take that money? That's the kind of thing the donors look at. Because we've seen between Mombasa and Kenya, a road being built. A highway between Bait Bridge and some point being built. We know the distances. We can compare and contrast. And the building material in Zambia, in Kenya, in Zimbabwe or South Africa is not so different. So what is the problem? We see these things. So they were forced to push back. That is how that road has not been done. Because the Zambians protested. It is too much. Now, when we say this road will be built in the alliance, when we say this road will cost $500 million, it will be $500 million. And the contractor has to know that if he doesn't, within that limit, build that road, we shall sue. We shall sue and ensure that he does his work. We've got engineers here, Bwana, who are frustrated. Luchi, when we were doing the Link Zambia 8000 with Old Man Sata, we had engineers who went around the country, went and looked at all the major bridges, those that had cracks, those that needed changing, those that needed reinforcement. They went with costs. These studies have already been done. We gave these studies to ECL and his government. What have they done? How many disasters have you seen of bridges being washed away? Then you see my young brother Chandakabwe from DMMU rushing there with helicopters as if these researches have not been done. They have already been done. And some of these things, we pointed them out. When the disasters happened, you'd call and say, Nchakwebe, did you see bridge number so and so and so? The engineers already did this. Do you know why Old Man Sata pushed part of RDA to be in State House? Because infrastructure, one, is so important that the president knew that he needed to control how the expenditure was going to be spent. It is important. But when you come and say, no, infrastructure will be run by some minister who, at the end of the day, just knows inflated pricing, this is what you get. Nothing works.
Is there a link between dealing with debt and reducing the cost of living?
Yes.
Or are they two separate entities?
No, they are married.
Yeah, because people would also like to know how the alliance aims at reducing the cost of living, which is high for many people.
The cost of living in Zambia today is related to the lack of production generally. We are not producing a lot of the things that we need, and yet we have the resources to produce them. Like where I started off, Luchi, the agricultural sector. Once we subsidize the agricultural sector, once we improve and realign our budget to support agriculture, food prices come down. It's simple economics. When you produce more, the price comes down. Now, one of the things we have discussed with my good friend HH and some of the alliance partners in discussing cost of living is once we reduce food, we ensure that the prices come down, we should be able to export. How do we do this? Because you're always asking how, Luchi. The one thing we have agreed is we cannot reduce the cost of living in the rural areas and across the country when we are still using Inkasu, hoes, to do farming. No. When this farmer has a little portion of 1 hectare, 1 lima as they call it, no. The minimum we are trying to emphasize on is at least between 10 to 15 hectares for good farming. Then we mechanize these guys through cooperatives. We buy them tractors. There are countries like India where you can loan tractors, they can give you, and you'll be paying pangono. But these tractors will go and do farming for large hectarage. Second of all, give these peasant and commercial farmers title deeds, value to the land, because then they can be able to go to the bank and borrow against their farms. Once that money doesn't just come from government, it also comes from their own title deed having value. People will know, if I don't work hard on this farm, bank will come and take this farm from me. So don't just be waiting for 8 bags of fertilizer from government. Ndui, Mankari, it's become political. Farming must not be political. It must be a business. The PF has taken advantage of the ignorance of the Zambians. And they're using this. No, we shall give you bags of fertilizer. We shall, no. Release the Zambians. Release the potential in the Zambians. Let them do their own farming as a business. And for those that live along the borders, why are you going to stop them from exporting once they've got surplus? You put ZNS, you put the police on border posts. No, don't take to Congo, don't take to Tanzania, don't take to Malawi. When there are shortages of maize and the other things, crops being needed in those countries, it's business, buana. Let them trade. Us, we are not going to stop anybody from conducting trade. As long as you've got surplus, trade, sell. There are a few ministers, Luchi, who went to the DRC recently, shocked at the price of goat meat, at the price of meat, chicken in a supermarket in Congo. Why are you shocked? You don't know how big Congo is. You don't know the population of Congo. That country is rich. Everything there is valued in dollar terms. So whatever you do, if you can produce it in Zambia, send it there. What is wrong with that? Don't be surprised. Take advantage of it. In business, we call it comparative advantage. You take advantage of your situation and you go into those areas and say, this is what I want you to do. So if you grow goats in Zambia, you grow chickens in Zambia, and you're able to grow the chickens to a point where they're laying eggs, take the eggs, take the chickens, take the goats into Congo, go and get those dollars, bring them back into the country. That is how you reduce the cost of living. Why are you going to stop a poor woman living on the border between Congo and Zambia, trading with the Congolese? Why are you stopping them? Because they should give FRA the maize. What nonsense. For what? If the price that FRA is offering is lower than the price the Congolese is offering, let her trade, let him trade with the Congolese. It's simple business. Don't politicize farming. We are not going to politicize farming. And I'm glad to report to the Zambians. I know they know this, but I need it re-emphasized. My friend HH is a farmer. He brought himself up to be one of the biggest ranchers in the country today. From simple Wengwa boy. Do you understand? Huh? We must be aiming as a policy by way of government to say, in the next 10 years, we want to have 50 billionaires. Zambians creating their own wealth. And Zambian policy, government policy must be towards that. Those youths, for instance, who don't have the IQ for school, why don't you build infrastructure for football? Academies. How many football academies has the PF built? How many art studios has the PF built? How many theaters has the PF built? And yet you and I know, Luchi, acting is business. Music is business. Football is business. Zambians are talented, Bwana. Not all these youths are going to be like you and me, to be a journalist, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor. No. Those with talent improve their talent. But Zambian government must provide the infrastructure, the base. Are you honestly telling me today is the only time the PF government is waking up to know that we've got talented Zambians? No. Everybody is excited. Patson Daka has moved from Salzburg. He's gone into Leicester City. £55,000 per week. Luchi, it's not per month, huh? Per week, Buana. Pounds. Now, if he signed a 4-year deal, per week, multiply. How much is that boy going to come back with? If we can have academies here, get into contracts with Barcelona, Real Madrid, Manchester United, Liverpool. Tell them, produce an academy here, Buana. We can begin here and build these boys into international stars. They can go there. At the rate the Kwacha is trading today, Buana, even if you pay the boy £20,000 per week, he will run like a horse, I'm sorry to say. But at the end of the day, he knows what it means back home. That is the kind of investment we should be looking at. Some of us who grew up on the Copper Belt saw these things. My friend Kalusha came from an academy, Country Club Academy. We used to have Mutamba, Country Club Academy, Wuntungwa, Banan. Then we go and compete. Old Samuel Zumunjovu and the Wanderers coaches would come poaching. Oh, that boy, he needs now another. That boy has grown now. We played in under 16 at Wanderers, some of us. But we had to go to national service, and now we have this kind. But my friend Kalu picked up from there. Look what he has made of himself. He's an icon. That is what happens. You think these boys like Pogba just drop from heaven? No. You think Cisse Mane just dropped from heaven? No. It's the academies where they come from. And the West Africans have taken up this very seriously. When a Drogba, when a Eto'o, when a Shine, all these players, they know that in football, all you need to do is sell 3-10 players, man. They're done. Charles Musonda, my little boy from Muflira, he's a father now, forgive me, Charles. But at the end of the day his children know nothing but football. Why? Because that's all they live for. They're in the Anderlecht Academy. Some of them have crossed over into Chelsea Academy. Because it is a business. But when you have leaders who can't see beyond their noses, when you have leaders who have no vision, the Zambian youth will be suffering. And yet we've got this potential. For what? When we had, some of us went to Zambia National Service and Zanase, we started a drama club there. I had my late friend Greg Lungu and his wife Dani Kanengoki and all these people. We used to do acting there. Zambia National Service picked them up. They became soldiers. But in the process, all they were doing was acting. Jobs were created from there. What is wrong with us? We can't do that. We can. Why am I saying all these things? Not everybody, Luchi, has got the IQ to be an intellectual. But I don't believe that there's a Zambian youth out there who is useless. He is good at something. Let us find what is good in that Zambian. Build that Zambian. But as a government, give him the enabling environment, Bwana. Give him the standards that he wants and build from there and say, we are producing that human factor there. He is going to be running and he will be playing football in Barcelona. He will be playing football at Manchester. He will be playing football at PSG. Why do the South Americans always cross over? When a Neymar, when a Messi, all these South Americans, why do they cross over? Why do they find it easy? It's the academies where they're coming from. It's the academies. So I'm saying, does the PF not know this? I told them this. I gave them some of these things. They're in the book, Bwana. And some of these things we have shared with my friend HH. We have said, how are we going to improve? Because it's not everybody we are going to give a formal job to. But those with talent, let them make that talent a business. And that is how you improve people's lives. That is how you bring the cost of living down. So, this other boy, Mwepu, has signed for Brighton. How much is he getting? These are pounds, Bwana. These boys will be playing in the Premier League. Premier. Now multiply, even if he's getting 40, 50,000 pounds per week. Those boys in England, Bwana, they're paid per week. Huh? This is why I was laughing at one of these PF machineries for campaign. No, the cost of living, you can't compare the cost of living in the UK to here. Those people get paid per week. You can't. How ignorant are you? Don't play on the ignorance of Zambians. We have traveled. We know these things. And some of these boys in the UK, in America, and in other European countries, they've got social amenities. Some of them don't even need to work. The government gives them money for just being citizens. Do you have that kind of social transfer here? No. Here you've only got social cash transfer for the disabled, come on. We've got to get out of this and move to make sure that we as Zambians begin to have systems that are going to work for our people, not to take advantage of their ignorance. That is what we are against in the alliance.
KM has 3 questions. How long will it take for the intended production centers? This is something that you spoke about earlier on. You talked about production centers.
Production.
Yeah. How long will it take for them to be operational? In the short to medium term, what's going to be done for the youth as they are waiting for these centers to be built? And again, I know I asked this question, but maybe you missed it. But the question around how you're going to pay for these huge projects, that's something I already answered. But maybe the first 2, how long will it take, and what happens in the short to medium term?
First of all, agricultural business is a seasonal business. So we must understand that if you're growing carrots, you're growing cauliflower, you're growing cabbages, you're growing tomatoes, you can do that at least 2-3 times in a year. Because it's 3 months, the crop is ready. That we know. So we are estimating that within 2 years, max, we should be up and running. If we're running cash crops such as coffee, such as cotton, such as tobacco, such as soybeans and the others, it depends on how well they take to grow. But if you're running a crop like sugarcane, we know that once you plant sugarcane into the soil, it will be there for 8 to 9 years. It will give you a crop. That is how Nakambala is still there. So we'll be making these progresses depending on the cash crop that we are growing. Depending on that cash crop. But in areas such as maize, beans, soya beans, things that can mature within 4 to 5 months, immediately we can start. And we can start very quickly. Not these white elephants of, you know, when they began this policy, I started laughing. And I've driven across this country several times, which they are hammer mills, ichigayo, all over, dotted around the country. Who uses them? Travel. The local people hardly use these figures. Put up on with solar power and everything else by the ECL government. They hardly use them. Why? Because they are very far from the communities where they live. So they would rather just pound. But wafti, that's what they do. Because they are thinking 5 kilometers to Konkere Chigayo, and I still have to pay there. 5 kwacha in the village to go and Gaisha is a lot of money. And between the village and the Chigayo, a snake can come up, an animal can come. People are scared. So there was no actual planning in this thing. Part of this was bad procurement, but we know, ni madilu. This is how they draw money from small things like this. What was the cost of those things? What did they do, the Zambians? How did they help the Zambians? They didn't help. But to answer the question the gentleman was asking, within 2-3 years we should be up and running.
And in the short to medium term?
6 months to 9 months, some of these crops should be able to produce very quickly.
Yeah. I don't know if you've been following this conversation around debt swap.
Yes.
Yeah, for civil servants. Do you have any thinking around, you know, whether it makes any sense, whether it's a scheme by those who are in power now to kind of get votes from the civil servants?
Of course, it is a scheme to try and appease the civil servants, Luchi. But my appeal to the civil servants, the nurses, the teachers, the doctors, whoever this debt swap is intended for, please take the money. Take the money. Take the money. But in your heart, don't vote for these people. They think you're foolish. I asked the question the other day, and I'm still going to ask. When you go in the booth, ask yourself, how stupid does the PF think I am? Second of all, ask the question, why are they giving me this money now? Why this debt swap now? During a campaign period? One. And at such a critical time as this? Why? If not for my vote. But therefore, Mishita. This whole thing is a scam. Do not even hesitate. Sign whatever they want you to sign. Take the money. It is your money. But don't vote these people back into power. It's a scam. Can you imagine, once you give them power, you're giving them 60 months, 5 years of your life. Those of you who are starting families now, mwana angankale grade 1 or nursery, by the time this government is going to leave, what will your life be? Are you going to pay your rent, pay the school fees? Are you going to be able to feed yourself, feed that child, clothe this child? The alliance is the only answer to all this thing, one. The UPND alliance is here with solutions. We have discussed, we have agreed. This is how we're going to handle the economic agenda. And this economic agenda is going to be Zambian pro-poor. We know the PF have been saying pro-poor, pro-poor. Nima political gimmicks. They don't even understand what the concept means, one. Let me remind you, When the Soweto market was burnt, how many months did they give it before they built the market? Has the market been built? When the Chisokoni market was burnt, how many months did they give it? When Nakadori market was burnt, how many months did they give it? The problem with Zambians is we forget. I'm reminding you, this is the same government. There is no commitment in whatever they plan to tell you, these people. None. They'll come there for cameras. Pause. Kwacha, kwacha, kwacha. No, the president was here. No, the army came. Gone. Ask the Lundazi people whether the bridge is built. But when the president was flying there for the launch, equipment was like this on site. This bridge will be built in months. Ask them, between Chama and Lundazi, has the bridge been built? No. Where is the equipment? Gone, Bwana. The Lundazi Chipata Road, has it been built? No. Vubu Chadiza Road, has it been built? No. Mufulira Ndola Road, has it been built? No. But the president flew there. Cut ribbons, Bwana. Huh? How stupid do you think the Zambians are? You'll be doing this every day. You go there, take all the cameras, take all the equipment. After you leave, everything leaves. Zambians, wake up. Don't be taken for a ride. These guys are about name in the newspaper, face on TV. That's all. They're not serious about solving your problems. The alliance is why we are disciplined and committed people.
People ask the question, where are you on the ground? Because they don't, they don't see you on the ground.
On the ground, on the ground.
Yes, someone who says, why is KBF and the alliance partners, why aren't they on the ground?
On the ground, on the ground.
It's one thing to talk on social media, one thing to talk here, but they want to see a bit more activity.
No. Yeah. First of all, you must be real. Whoever is asking that question. The reason why I came here with a mask, Luchi, you and I know, there's COVID out there. Let's be real. Let's not pretend. Yeah. Don't be fooled by these road shows of the PF saying, no, we're distributing masks. They are trying to make themselves visible. But do they care about your health? We care about your health. That is why we're not there every day to talk to you. Because some of these people are sick. Listen to me, Luchi. Let me finish. Yeah. The people who want to ask those questions, they want to see the old-fashioned kind of campaigns. Times have changed. Those areas that we'll be able to visit, we shall visit. But you and I know, people like me, people like my friend HH and others in the alliance, we are marked people. We've got pangas waiting for us. Are we going to die simply because you want to see me? Let's be real. You hear my voice, you see me on Facebook, you know this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but how many people in the rural area, I hate to say it, but how many people in the rural area will see your voice on Facebook?
Do they really need to see me, Luchi? They've got relatives in town who will tell them, vote this way. And we are using every campaign tool. It's called door-to-door campaign. So when we talk to the people who are educated and good enough, they'll go to their relatives and talk to them. Spread the word. The important thing is to get the word out there. And we are getting the word out there. It is important. We cannot be using the methods PF is using today because PF does not care about your health. Did you see the president in Mutendere? How many people in that crowd were masked up? This is a president who's a super spreader himself. Does he care about how people get sick? No, we care. That's why you're not seeing some of us. When we come, we'll come in small groups, talk to you, leave. We don't want you sick. We don't want you dying. We need you, Zambians. It's because of the love we have for you. Now, when you see people coming to give you money, give you chitenge, they are coming also to bring you diseases. Why are you wanting us to be there to come and make you sick? No. What if you make me sick yourself? Why? There's COVID, Bwana. Let's not pretend. We're not running away from our responsibility of campaigning. But we're also obeying what the ECZ is saying. Use different methods of campaign. But I'm telling you, the PF doesn't care. The PF is desperate. The levels we have reached, Luchi, today, there is more chitenge on trees and poles than there is on people. Why? Because PF doesn't know what to do with this material. PF, I read from Nakachinda today in the newspaper saying PF will win by 70%. If Regalia was the measure, yes, they win by 70%. Because they've got 70% more Regalia than the alliance. But in the hearts of Zambians, we have already penetrated the hearts of Zambians. That I can assure you. We have already penetrated the hearts of Zambians. The Zambians know the economy is bad. The Zambians know the cost of living is bad. The Zambians know that this PF government has no plans, no agenda, no message. The Zambians know that the youths are unemployed. The Zambian taxi drivers, the Zambian minibus drivers, the Zambian truck drivers know that the petrol is high. The woman in the street knows that she's going to be on the sun every day just to get a 20 kwacha after she sells tomatoes. The Zambians know these things. We don't need to tell them. The Zambians know there was gassing. No one has been prosecuted. The Zambians know there's been violence. And everybody knows at the end of the day, whatever Balungu is doing, this is a third term. Let's not forget. Let's not forget. The desperation you're seeing under PF is because this is a third term bid. And I'll repeat this, every review commission towards the constitution has been saying no third term for a president. How many times have you, as Zambians, seen Edgar Chagwa Lungu on a ballot paper? 2 times. That's what the constitution says. But he wants to appear on the ballot for a 3rd time. Why are you giving him a 3rd term? Why? This is about a 3rd term, one. So if you believe in your heart of hearts there should be no 3rd term for a president, go into that polling booth and ask yourself, how stupid does PF think I am? Don't they know I know what a 3rd term looks like? This is a 3rd term. Cross on HH, cross on the UPND alliance, vote and leave that booth. Our job thereafter is to protect that victory. That is what is important here. To protect that vote. Because whether Balungu likes it or not, whether PF likes it or not, this is a 3rd term. And this was a departure point for some of us, Luchi. You know that?
Yeah, even though the courts have pronounced.
Yeah, but the court is different. How many judges are there? There are 9 judges, 9 votes. If you're going to say politically, that's 9 votes. Are those the votes? No, now we are in the public opinion. We have taken the same question to Zambians, the millions of Zambians. Is this what you want? And the Zambians are saying no. This is not what we want. The Zambians are saying no. We've been down this road before with FTJ. What's so special about Lungu? What is so special about ECL? He's my older brother, yes. I respect him, yes. But for me, deep down in my heart, this is against the law.
Here's a question from someone. Mungushi opening every time there's an election.
Very good. Do I need to tell the people? The same question I'm asking you. If he's coming from Kabwe, this is the same question I'm asking you. You people in Kabwe, how stupid does PF think you are? Every 5 years, Mulungushi Textiles is open for you. Does it work? Open your eyes. These are things you must be open to. There is no commitment in the PF. I tell you, I'll repeat. What they want is name in the newspaper, face on TV. The moment the president leaves, the machines leave. How many times do you open a factory? How many times do you launch something? You launch it once. Now when you launch Mulungushi, 5 years later you relaunch it. What are you relaunching? Even the president must be embarrassed. He must be ashamed. Going to the same thing to do it over and over, over and over. For what? You must be ashamed. Stop lying to people. And Zambians have opened their eyes and say, don't listen. There is no message in PF. There is no commitment to any economic agenda in PF. My brothers, my Zambian brothers, my Zambian sisters, please tell your mothers in the villages, when there are problems in the villages, you send us messages. You're the same ones in the villages who are voting. So tell them in the villages. Start changing. Mayonde mitumi no lupia balerenge fi ni ba PF mwila ba votela. Tatande mitiyama ni mitumi no lupia lelo pa kuvota mwika ya votela ba PF. Na papa tasana. Start sending that message. Because you are the campaign material. You are the ones who are going to be our ambassadors and carrying this message for the alliance. You cannot be doing the same wrong things but asking the people in town to solve the problem. No. The people in Lusaka, the people on the Copper Belt, the people on the line of rail understand the cost of living. That is why it's easy for them to say, no. Have you seen what happened? I don't know if you've seen this on social media, Luchi. A truck at Nakonde flipped, laden with goods. Why? Because the truck couldn't move just to bypass a council barrier. It flipped. Those goods are going to be damaged. To get that truck upright again, it's going to cost money. It's going to be more delays for those goods to move. When we are talking about these roads, which are economic roads not being done by PF, this is what we mean. It's slowing down business. Now, the PF are telling you, no, infrastructure, what infrastructure, Bwana? What infrastructure? These the flyover bridges. You cannot talk about beautifying a city before the base of the economy is improved. Takwaba. The basics must be satisfied before you go and start painting. You don't paint a house before you finish it. That's beautifying. So you're beautifying the cities. But the economy is rotten. So who will be driving over those flyover bridges? How many? Let's be serious. When we talk about these things, let's be serious.
On violence, someone says, we've seen alliances signed. What we want to know is who's addressing the people who are not pen and paper oriented. In every organization, there is a hierarchy. This violence can be pinpointed down to the boots on the ground. Have people failed to manage their political parties? Papers and alliances don't pick up hangers.
I agree. I totally agree. Whoever sent that message, Luchi, I agree. But this is the much talked about violence which you and me must talk about. Violence is part of the PF DNA. I gave an example of some years back when my young brother Julius Kaela Komaki was hacked on his way to the airport. When Vasata was launching that building at the airport, the new airport hangar, I mean not the hangar but the airport terminal. He was hacked within PF. PF, violence on PF. Now people will say, no, that's a long time ago. Okay, fine. Fast forward. What happened to Innocent Kalimanchi when he drove to the PF secretariat in full view of the leadership? Were you not there? Are you the only Jew who didn't see PF fighting in front of the president of PF at the Freedom Statue? Were you not there? How many times do we have to convince you the DNA of PF youth is violence? But do you know what's causing this violence, Luch? Insala, hunger, poverty. Because these young men have got so much energy. They don't know where to take it. They have no jobs, there's no employment. So to them, they think this is the job. And if I impress my master, the more people I beat, the more people I hack with a panga, the more money I get. Wupuba, Filekeni, Fiko. The UPND Alliance is going to give you jobs and things to do. You can take that energy in areas where some of you who are hacking your friends, you're footballers, we know that. Some of you who are doing this, you're musicians, we know that. Some of you know how to act. Some of you know how to sing. We shall give you the facilities where you can take that energy as youths. Don't listen to these people. Niwa mwankole. Babu fi. Bakulami vepafye. Bakulami vepafye day in, day out. Niwa mwankole, trust me. I know them, I've been there. That is why some of us have said, I can't be associated with such. We have left. Natukana. Not because we are desperate, as someone was trying to say. Desperate over what? A desperate person is the one who wake Kumalush. And you know who has gone back Kumalush. The people who are castigating and insulting the president are the same people who want to dine with him today. You think the president is stupid? No, he's watching. You think those ministers are welcoming you like with open arms? No, they want to use you. But they get used because you're used to being used. Some of us, Bwana, when we take a decision, we shift on principle. We are agreed. This is how we're going to change this country. This is how we're going to improve this country. And this is what we want to do. It's nothing about bootlicking somebody. No. It's about, can we think together? Can we agree and push this agenda? And I'm here to say to you, at least those of you who don't know my friend HH, this is a very humble guy. But in discussing and engaging him, you find a very principled, strong Zambian. A self-made man. That is all. And that's the difference I have seen between him and somewhere I'm coming from.
Yeah. Are there any guarantees from the alliance that for those that will look for jobs when the alliance takes over, that you get a job on merit and not what this particular person says, that you will only get a job if you know someone?
Luchi. When we were discussing Zambia Must Prosper 2 with my friend HH, one of the things here, go to page 11, any one of you who's got my book, go there. Just number 2, establish a disciplined, meritorious and free corruption government. What does that mean? Within 1 year we can do that. We've given a timeline. What are we saying? On merit, Luchi. On merit.
Not on who you know.
Not on who sent you. Not on who you know. No. If that was the case, HH and me would not have gone to university on bursary. What got us to university was our brains. On merit. And those days they used to post your qualifications. To your mother, I was at national service. If it's today, they would have hacked it and changed the name and given it to their friend. But because we trusted the postal services then, they knew that this name here is Kelvin Fulebwalia. This is the guy they want at Unza. Same for my friend when he was coming from the village in Bwengwa. We met at university. Why? It was merit, Bwana. You must go back there, where the children begin to trust the systems and say, as long as I am given this opportunity and I am good at this, on merit, I'll get the job. Not because I know KBF, not because I know HH, no. Don't even come with me with the qualifications and say, no, I'm not very qualified, but please talk to somebody. I am not going to do that. I'm not that kind of person. I have grown up on merit. Everything I've built with my hands, on merit. Everything my friend HH has built, on merit. So that question, yes, merit. We're going back to merit.
I have one last question.
Please, Luchi.
So a lot of my friends who are on Twitter,
yes,
whenever the name KBF pops up, they always say, KBF is the reason why we're here. If we didn't wake up a particular judge in the middle of the night with an injunction, we wouldn't be where we are. They look for, I don't want to say they look for an apology from you, but they look for answers. I
will not give them an apology.
They look for answers.
Luchi, I've answered this question several times. I am not one who's going to be regretting. I don't regret what I did. No. But you see, as a believer, I'm speaking now as a Christian, as a believer, sometimes God takes you along a path to teach you something. The question we must be asking is, what is God trying to teach us in this? What has God taught us in this? How do we correct it? That is why some of us have left. It is not only one vote for Kelvin Fulebwalia that put Lungu in office. No. We all voted, Luchi. We all did. It's not just about me. We all did. We believed with good conscience. This is a good man. I am telling you today, I don't believe that anymore. I don't. That is why I'm here. If I did, you'll be saying, but again, KBF. I am saying, no. It's time to change. Change the game and change some players. When you go into that booth, ask yourself, with whatever message, purported message PF comes with, how stupid, how gullible does PF think I am? This is a third term. Am I giving Lungu a third term? A resounding answer for me is no third term. Mark your X on it, HH Akainde, and every alliance partner member. That's it. That's how you change. And that's how we move forward. That's it. So, whenever you ask yourself that question, and you answer it to say, okay, it's not a third term, vote for Lungu. Don't come back to me, vote for Lungu. Me, I've told you, don't vote for Lungu. Don't vote for PF. I have told you, those days, at that time, I am not God. I didn't know what was going to happen. You can't apologize for things you didn't know, Luchi. I didn't know this guy would turn out like this. I didn't know. And now I know. That's why I'm telling the Zambians, don't vote for this guy. Don't. He's my older brother. Yes, I respect him. Yes. But he hasn't got the leadership to push this country forward. He hasn't got it. That's the answer. So those guys who are asking me whether I'll apologize, no. I will not apologize. I have no regrets. I did what I did because at the time I thought it was right. Now I know better. That's it. And we as Zambians must forget about swimming in the past all the time, trying to find blame games and things like that. We pick our bones and move on. Falling down, Luchi, does not make you a failure. Staying down does. Dust yourself up. Move on. It's time to move on, Zambians. Forward. We are going forward. We're not doing Tununa. We're not reversing. No, we're going forward. This is the other thing I want to say in closing, perhaps. The songs that the PF are singing and trying to make you dance to, it's more or less cocky. It's arrogance. Do you know this song of sorry? Like it doesn't matter what you do. Sorry. There's a bit of arrogance in that. Huh? I am sorry. When you speak like that, you're actually telling Zambians, you're so stupid. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what your vote says. We are going to do this. Don't force the Zambians. No, Luchi. And what I'm saying to the Zambians is, feel sorry for yourselves. Voting booth. Go and change this government. Don't vote for PF. There is no message there. There are no ideas there. Nothing. At least in the alliance, you've got hope that things will change. And this is the change we're talking about.
KBF, thank you very much for coming this morning.
Thank you very much, Lucia, and thank you to the listeners.
Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media. Subscribe to Davi-tech-media.
Thank you very much for tuning in at Davi-tech-media. Remember, Davi-tech-media is the media that shares news, trending videos, political news, gospel music, as well as entertainment. Please don't forget to hit that subscription button and that notification bell to be the very first person to receive the video that will be produced and posted by Davi-tech-media. Davi-tech-media, updating you.